Low blow. For one ex-cop, it's not just the best defense. It's the only defense.
I'd have nailed your ass to the wall.
He takes on jobs others can't cut. But when he's hired to find the missing daughter of a millionaire industrialist,
Templeton International?
he takes on an organization that deals in everything from drugs to kidnapping. And that puts him in way over his head.
What are you doing here?
But a man with killer instincts can always find a way out. His problem is he's got to go back in.
Don't worry, I'll get carried out of there.
He's got to choose from among the toughest, meanest, strongest, and dirtiest fighters in America. And when they strike, they hit first.
Me and you, Chinaman.
They hit hard.
Come on.
And they hit with a low blow.
I'm gonna kill you with my bare hands.
Where are you taking me?
Someplace where the sun always shines.
The motion picture that proves once and for all that man's deadliest weapon is still his fist. Low blow, hammer it home.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie. In strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hi, friends.
Hello. I have some unfortunate news to report. I think my niece is turning into one of those, like, mansplaining nerds that everyone talks about, because we went to see the Mario movie, and one of the characters came on screen, and she leaned over to me and went, "That's the blue shell."
Is she a gatekeeper? Is that what you're
Yeah.
telling me?
Yeah. She's explained to me as if I didn't know who the Mario characters were while we were at the movie.
I went and saw the Mario movie as well over the weekend, and Jen had to explain to me the blue shell. I didn't pick up on it.
Okay.
She's like, "Oh my god, the blue shell." I'm like, "What are you talking about, the blue shell?" The guy has a blue shell. Oh, all right. Well, I'm sorry.
The moment she did it, it made me immediately think of the tweet the one guy said when the movie came out. It was like the Mario movie now with millions of boyfriends leaning over to their girlfriends going, "That's Mario."
They'd be wrong, because it's Mario.
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 Yeah, don't make me have to go onto your video game podcast and school you on
explain.
Mario.
I gotta say, while I was at the movie, can I do a light spoiler? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's not much of a spoiler in it.
Do you care?
I don't care. Not for spoilers for this movie.
So at the very end, there's the after credit scene where there's a Yoshi egg, and the Yoshi egg cracks, and you hear Yoshi say his name, right? So it's me, my wife, and my sisters were watching the movie, and there was these little girls at the front with their parents, and when the Yoshi egg cracked and he said his name, these little girls lost their shit. It was the most adorable thing ever. I didn't think it was still so popular, but I was like, because I'm thinking as a 36-year-old man, you're like, oh yeah, like I know Mario is popular, but I didn't think he was still popular with kids, and obviously he very much is. So it was just, it brought a tear to my eye. Like, oh, these kids are all right.
Dan, I swore that you were going to say that scene was a reference to the 1998 Godzilla movie, which also ends with an egg cracking.
Yeah, that's true in Madison Square Garden. But I doubt they did that.
No.
The groundbreaking Joel Schumacher Godzilla.
With known vehicular Homicide himself, Matthew Broderick.
That's
right.
correct. What's
Yeah.
your niece's opinion on ethics in journalism?
I don't know. I'm afraid to ask after this weekend.
Okay.
She hasn't gotten into Call of Duty yet, so she hasn't gotten to like that side of first person shooters yet.
Wow. That'll be a rude awakening for her when she finds
Yeah.
out that nobody wants to play with a girl.
Yep. Exactly. Get her to play one of those team-based shooters like Overwatch, and all of a sudden the team just abandons her. Yeah. That's the awakening she needs in video games. But no, following Dan's point, yeah, it was fun because both times I saw the movie was in theaters with kids, and just seeing the kids react to things that you don't think they would react to was fun.
I'm gonna stop you right here. This sounds like we're getting into a segment that we no longer do.
Good point.
What do you feel left out, Ant?
Yeah, because I'm for 100 days. We're 100 days into 2023. I still haven't gone to the movies yet. I'm doing my part, guys. I am still continuing to not watch movies, but you guys now all of a sudden.
Well, this I have for the audience out there. This was an agreement that none of us were a part of. Only Anthony was a part of, apparently.
Yeah,
Wait,
I said.
Did you have this conversation by yourself?
I said let's stop doing this segment and also never go to the movies again.
This is like an Always Sunny
You
in
said-
Philadelphia segment now, where Dennis forbids Mac and Charlie from going to the movies.
I thought it was implied, guys.
Yeah. So that's what you meant by fuck Nicole Kidman.
Exactly.
Apparently.
I mean, I've said that other way, like meaning other things. Like, man, I'd like to, but not since Batman Forever.
Yeah, fair enough.
But then that's not true. She's still smoking hot. Anyway, this is not what did we watch this week? Because once again, we don't do that subject. But this week was whose pick was this even? Was this Dan's pick or Mark's pick? No idea.
I believe it was mine.
Okay. So Dan, why don't you tell us the movie we watched this week? Oh, but before we do, actually, we have a poll going on right now on our Twitter page, TickDamnPod. So go there and vote for Short King Spring. That's the April movie of the month theme. We've got 3 movies featuring male actors under 5'7". We've got Agent Cody Banks starring Little Frankie Muniz. We've got
Little Frankie Muniz.
Throw Mama from the Train starring even littler Danny DeVito and Billy Crystal. And then we have Airborne starring one Seth Green. So, guys, ladies, if you want to pick a movie for us at the end of this month, go on the podcast Twitter right now, TickTamPod, and vote. I don't know how much longer you have to vote because this is going up Friday, and I feel like the poll is going to end on Friday. But check it out, vote for that movie, and listen next week for that poll. Okay, Dan, what you got for this? Let's see. What did you pick?
All right, so I picked a movie that, from what I'm told, has kind of entered that realm of it's so bad, it's good, and it's the 1986 cult classic, ? Low Blow, starring writer and producer Leo Fong.
Okay, well, where are you coming from with Low Blow?
Again, I've heard some people talk about it, and a lot of people kind of put it in the same vein as like a Samurai Cop or a Miami Connection type of movie. I don't see the appeal there. I don't see the connection. I think this movie doesn't enter that same sphere where it's so ridiculous that it enters the entertaining side. This is just really, really boring, in my opinion. It was poorly shot, poorly edited, both video and audio wise. Leo Fong is not a leading man in any sense of the word. Cameron Mitchell might as well be dead in this movie. I think did they do a Weekend at Bernie's with him?
Maybe.
Because he legit sits the entire movie. He's
Yeah.
either sitting or laying. He's prone.
That is mostly the 80s for Cameron Mitchell.
I guess so. Right? He died in '94, so I guess this was his twilight era of. Notoriously bad movies, right? He's like the patron saint of schlock.
Yeah.
He's been in a ton of bad movies. Yeah, I'd seen some reviews on this movie. A couple friends of mine had mentioned it. They said we'd be in for a treat. I don't see it, unfortunately. There's definitely a lot to pick apart here, which is good for us. It's boring, but it still has plenty wrong with it where we can kind of say, what were they trying to do here? What was their goal? And I don't know what Leo Fong was trying to accomplish in some aspects. I get he's Jackie Chan without the charisma.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he does his own stunts, he does his own fight choreography, but he has dead eyes.
Sure.
Soulless eyes. Just it pierced my soul. I expected more, I'll say. I think that's what I'm going to finish up on. I expected more from this movie.
Okay. Mark, where are you coming from with Low Blow?
So I actually, despite this seeming to have made the rounds on Red Letter Media and other things that media that we sort of intake, I've not seen anything about this movie. So I was going in completely blind on it. And I am 100% glad to hear Dan said what he said, because I thought I was just too tired watching this movie. Because, yeah, it just seemed completely boring, and none of the stuff that you would normally find funny in like a Miami Connection or, you know, there's other similar kung fu action movies in the 80s would give you. This movie just, I think it had a lot to do with, and it's the one thing I picked up on, and I mentioned to you guys in the chat, the editing. I think we've seen a lot of bad editing in movies. I don't think this is bad editing, but I think the problem is that it doesn't allow the movie to have any kind of flow at all. Even it just seems like somebody was like cutting it on, you know, what would be Premiere or whatever for the first time and didn't know how to use any of the things. That's how to just cut and stick together, because they would literally cut a scene right at the end of a line and would go into another thing without any establishing shots or any kind of transition. And it would be so jarring. And at times I couldn't keep track of certain things because of that, like why we were here or where we were and why is this character now in this situation. That led to a lot of the boring stuff. There were bits and pieces of the movie, especially when we were on, you know, especially I guess the end fight scene when they're doing their plan at the camp, you know, it was fun and goofy. And, you know, obviously, you know, it was meant to make Leo Fong look like an incredible martial artist in a way that I think might be above what his actual skill set is, at least at the age he was in this movie. I think Dan nails it on the head with the Jackie Chan with no charisma is what this was trying to do. The unassuming Asian man that's like all of a sudden really good at karate, you know, that people wouldn't take seriously. It's one of those things where I normally say in movies that there's like a kernel of something there. I think the only real kernel they had was the idea of the very, very, very basic private investigator trying to find a woman that got captured into a cult. That's it. Everything else that happens, like what the cult's about, Cameron Mitchell's like blind guy that loves peace, but his assistant or wife or whatever she is likes violence. They didn't really make any of that make any sense. And it wasn't even like good goofy. So yeah, I wish there was a little bit more to get me excited about or laugh at. But yeah, like you guys were probably going to say, there's plenty to pick apart in this movie. I just wish it was more of a fun time.
Sure. Okay. As for me, I'm kind of in agreement with you guys. I found this movie to be tedious at times. It's just, I would have liked, because I thought where it was going was that this was basically going to be Leo Fong being Charles Bronson. Because it starts off where he just goes around being at the right place at the right time, beating up muggers. And I was hoping it was just going to be like a Leo Fong Death Wish, where he's just going to indiscriminately murder people. And I would have had a lot more fun with that. I'm not sure if this movie is supposed to be a comedy. And if it's not, then does Leo Fong just suck at driving?
Right, where he crashes into random things.
Because my favorite fight throughout this movie is Leo Fong versus Curbs, because he obliterates several of them, and I feel like he might bottom out a car driving over one.
If it wasn't written by Leo Fong, I would accuse the writer of possibly being racist.
Right? Yeah, because that's the other thing. Or is this a Asian guy can't drive joke?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the scene at the end, like the long fight scene is like 20 minutes.
There's
Just
a
a
couple of
lot.
those scenes.
There's points in this movie where like, I don't know why we're doing this. Like
Mhm.
this whole strongman competition in the middle of it. Why are
Yeah.
we here? Why are we watching these guys box? Why are we at
Oh,
this
that whole section.
this card game
Yeah.
place? I guess it's sort of a casino, but it's like an OTB for casino games, I guess, because it's not really a casino. It's just got card tables there. Yeah, I thought this was gonna be a lot more fun.
There are too many set pieces in this movie. It's supposed to be, like Mark said, Leo Fong is a private investigator trying to find some guy's daughter. There's too many set pieces. There's, like you said, they have a gym, they have bars, they have office buildings, bedrooms. They're at one point they're in a fighting pit. At one point they're on the river. It's like too much going on for what should be a very simple movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it goes to the points Ant was making, going back to the quick cuts and editing, like not establishing anything and not knowing where you were. And I think the middle chunk of the movie, I think from the time he returns from the compound the first time to when they go back, I was completely confused. Like I didn't know why anything was happening until the moment they get in his office and set up the plan for the final battle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then I'm like, oh, that's why that guy and that girl and that like,
Yeah,
oh.
he was assembling his Avengers.
Yeah.
I
Leo
was
Fong's
so
11.
lost.
Yeah.
I was so lost. Like, why? Where did these people all come from? How did he? There was no scene where he kind of goes around recruiting them.
Mhm.
I think like maybe at the very end he does, but all of these people are kind of doing their own storyline separate of Leo Fong.
Mhm.
Right, you have the boxer who is fighting for cash, right? Just kind of like doing underground fighting in a way. And like Leo Fong is there, but he doesn't talk to him. There's
Right.
and the strong woman who in the fighting pit. Leo Fong is there, but again, he doesn't talk to her.
Yeah. He
So-
does talk to the boxer in the diner when they all beat up those drunk guys.
Oh,
That's about the only one.
is that God? Again, it's so confusing.
That's the
Did
older
you-
black guy, right? The boxer.
Yeah, boxer
Yeah.
Bill Cosby.
That's right. Yes, right. Because Leo Fong just kind of enters, and a fight breaks out of nowhere, and they help kick these guys out.
Yeah.
Leo Fong, I think, has a one-liner. I couldn't understand
Yeah.
anything that was being said.
That was one of the issues with this movie. And we watched this on YouTube, so maybe this just isn't a good quality, but the video actually looked pretty good.
It
It
did.
was a pretty good transfer. But I couldn't hear a thing. Like I had to put it so loud that my wife yelled from the other room to turn it down because the music was too loud.
That's the problem. The music overshadowed the dialogue.
And when we say music, we mean singular because it was one track.
Yeah.
They got their money's worth out of that one song that they had.
It was almost. It sounded like the opening title music to Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Right, that slow saxophone sound.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah, I
plays
was
at the most
disappointed.
inopportune times.
Yep.
And the other thing that adds confusion on my part was I thought the strong woman beating everyone up was his secretary for like at least a good 2 scenes.
Wait, how were we supposed to know?
Yeah, it's like all I saw real quick while all the cutting was, edits and cut was going on was just a blonde woman beating up somebody in a pit. I was like, is that his secretary?
Right. Yeah. There was a brief moment where I was like, is that her? Like, no, that's not. Obviously not.
Right.
It would help
it
if
was close.
It would help if there was like we knew what these people's names were. It's another movie where we don't know what names are.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think IMDb helps either. I was just
Yeah.
looking that up.
I just called Leo Fong. I wrote down in my notes, Leo Fong is Leo Fong. I didn't write down his character name.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
Joe Wong.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's
if you
it's
told
Leo
me that,
Fong.
yeah.
Yeah, and I found out through IMDb that the boxer's name is Quirky.
Yeah.
His real name?
No.
In the okay,
the character's name.
gotcha. Yeah,
His real name's even better. It's Stack.
That's so
Dak
cool.
Pierce.
Should have went with that. Everyone should just go by their real name.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
the poster on this movie is incredibly misleading.
He looks like what's his face from The Office? Michael Scott.
He kind of looks like Steve Carell, yeah,
Or Steve Carell. He looks like Steve Carell.
with a giant fist.
Bulging muscles. I don't know who it's supposed to be, but it's no one in this movie.
Nope.
I think my favorite character in the movie was Karma, the Cameron Mitchell's right hand woman.
Yep.
She fucking ate
She did.
every scene, man.
Yeah.
Killed it.
Yeah. You know what she was doing a year before this movie?
Do we want to take guesses?
Sure.
Mark, what would you say?
Soap opera.
Oh, Papa, that's not a bad choice. I'm gonna say she was a ring girl or something like that.
Okay. You're both wrong.
Okay.
She was in the Academy Award nominated film The Color Purple, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Wow. Well, she might have been the best actor in this movie, so I see that.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she's a baddie. She's not bad looking either.
Awesome. She was so cool. She has that like monologue where she's chanting to the cultists.
Yep.
And then she just freaks out. She has a momentary freak out where I was like,
Yeah.
yes, perfect.
That's when she's still into Yarakunda.
Yeah,
and
right, then she kind of becomes
that very quickly. She's fucking over it.
like, oh my god, I have to sleep with Cameron Mitchell. Maybe it's not worth it.
I have to fuck this toad every night.
He's blind. You could just pretend you're doing something. And he's not going to move. He doesn't move. So
just like slice open a cantaloupe.
Right. How does that feel, baby? Also, I'm getting very conflicting messages from Cameron Mitchell's character here. Because he has a Star of David tattoo and like a Hindi tattoo.
Yep. He's got the Hindi dot.
Yeah.
He's the coexist bumper sticker.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I didn't know at first when they introduce him, and he's always wearing like a bonnet. He never takes the bonnet off. Even when when it's sexy time with Karma, the bonnet stays on. When they first introduced him, I thought the Star David tattoo was a mole.
Okay.
But then you get a closer look. I'm like, oh wait a minute, why does he have that and the Hindu dot? That's totally different, like conflicting ideologies. No.
Yep.
Maybe he was just trying to be super inclusive.
Yeah, possibly.
Did he have a cross necklace on? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. But also, I don't know what was his thing. You know?
Sure. Yeah. What was the end goal for Cameron Mitchell?
Right. Because the professor at the university is already like, well, this is like Jonestown. People are going to be killing themselves in no time. I was like, I don't really feel. I know he says that the real person behind all the power is really Karma, but I didn't really feel it. I didn't really get it from them.
Anytime we cut to the cult, they're basically preparing the land. They're just like raking the land.
Yeah.
So are they just going to grow crops? Is that the end game there? If so, that's not terrible.
Mm-hmm. Big farming is that propaganda.
They're trying to take down factory farming. There you go. Yeah. And we can't have that. So that's why Cameron Mitchell's he's a crazy person. I didn't sense any evil outside of the guys with guns for whatever reason.
But Cameron Mitchell sensed evil, but Karma assured him that no evil.
Oh, see, there you go. You picked up on that. I couldn't figure that out. Leo Fong sleeping with the secretary, apparently. I wrote that down.
In a shack?
Apparently.
They got like a dozen cars on their front lawn. They got pigs, maybe. They got puppies. Puppies came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Just random animals in this movie. I think it's obviously a very shoestring budget, so whatever they got lying around, they're going to use.
Yeah. It's an odd film because the character that Leo Fong is playing is a buffoon, right?
Yeah.
Yes
But-
and no.
But Leo Fong isn't good at playing a buffoon. Like he's not good at he's terrible at his job, or at least keeping his job. He's ass backwards in debt to the bank. He's got a shitty ass fucking car that doesn't start. He can't drive it. He gets parking tickets everywhere he goes. So it feels like he's doing like Fletch,
Yeah.
but has no comedic timing, no comedic bone in his body, so he can't do Fletch.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such an odd. The whole parking thing just is like blowing my mind because it's legitimately funny in a movie that is not funny. Because I was laughing every time he hit something, and it's just not that movie. And if they were trying to make that movie, they failed immensely.
Spectacularly, yes. I wish they kind of would have chosen a genre, right? Like either make it an action comedy or just action, like a martial arts action.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite scenes in this movie is Leo Fong hunting these henchmen on the ranch,
Mhm.
and he saws the top of a car off with like a buzzsaw, like a heavy duty buzzsaw. But he takes the time to put on safety goggles before
Safety
doing
first,
so.
man.
Oh,
Yeah.
listen, I agree 100%. You don't want a piece of metal flying into your eye, but that's what to Anthony's point, that's comedy.
Right.
That's something that you would see out of like a Zucker Brothers film, like, oh, before I do this, make safety first and put the safety goggles on. But yeah, it didn't know to toe the line well enough.
I think the scene that encapsulates most of what Ant was saying about Leo Fong's character in this is when the Templeton, the father of the girl inside the cult, comes to ask for his help, and he's just sitting in there with a tank top.
Yeah.
and just like asleep in the middle of the day in his office.
And she's like, the secretary again was great. He goes, oh, so-and-so's here. We're going to get lots of money. We can pay off the bank. And then she looks at him and goes, you're going to wear that?
Yeah.
You'll go send him in. Not wearing that.
Send him in.
His office is a pigsty.
Yeah.
He's lazy, but at the same time, he's always in the right place to stop a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And he does so easily. Like he's Steven Seagal, right? No one touches him.
Yeah.
I completely forgot my favorite cut, funny wise, was when he's doing a bunch of the saving random things as he's walking down the street in the opening, and it just cuts to him with the cops.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you don't work for us anymore.
Yeah.
The beginning of this movie reminded me of the Simpsons Eye on Springfield,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just loud music playing and random scenic shots and people doing weird things. It was just a mess of a movie.
Yeah. So, Low Blow from 1986 was directed by Frank Harris, who directed Kill Point, The Patriot, Aftershock, and Lockdown. He was also the cinematographer on the Anna Nicole Smith Skyscraper, which we've covered.
Hey.
Oh, look at that.
Stars Leo Fong, Cameron Mitchell, Troy Donahue, Diane Stevenette, Akasua I don't know. Akasua Busia, I'm going to say.
That's
Penny
right.
Bowling, Stack Pierce, Woody Farmer, and Elaine Hightower. IMDb score of 4.1 and a Rotten Tomatoes score, no critics, but 21% audience score. No budget, but I did find a box office of $63,000.
I thought you were just going to say $63.
Just 63.
Yep, just 63. 4 people saw it. 5 people.
Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us?
All right, guys. As I do every week, I'm going to ask that you take some time off of listening to this excellent podcast and go check out some other excellent podcasts that we are friends with. Number one, the Game Vault podcast. It's a bi-weekly video game podcast with our very own Mark Myers and some of our other friends, running down video game news, talking about games they've been playing recently, and covering their Retro Roulette game of the week, which could range from the original Nintendo, all the way to PlayStation, GameCube, you name it. They have that on their list. It's a lot of fun. So go check them out on any podcatcher of your choice. And they also stream on Twitch at Game Vault Podcast. Mark, Jen, and Tom will just stream their Retro Roulette Game of the Week. And I know, Mark, you stream every now and then different games. And also, a good friend of the podcast who we've had on for several episodes, the Top 10 with Tia. It's a podcast where Tia and her friend Brittany run down their top 10 list of the week. So you could go over to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia. They're also on YouTube. Again, search Top 10 with Tia, and it'll pop right up.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
And Padawan J.
from the ODPH podcast.
Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right. Whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget, odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
You know I don't know I was so damn hard to say.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. Involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked your ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell him.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into plot 4, Low Blow. We open on a diner that's being held up by some armed robbers that are treating this bodega like it's a bank. Across the street, Leo Fong knows something is up, somehow, and decides to grab his gun and walk across the street to intervene.
So now we know where Stone Cold got their idea for opening with a robbery.
Yep. He walks in pretending he's a customer and asks where his sandwich is at, I think, because the audio is so terrible I can't be sure. And then the robbers sit him down with the rest of the hostages. But then he says a one-liner that I have no idea what he said because I can't understand that one. And he shoots them all dead. And he leaves saying, forget the sandwich, which was good because he never actually ordered one. And then Leo Fong just walks around San Francisco for a while.
It was like low budget Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's very, very Saturday Night Fever-ish. That is a good point. Yeah. And then he meets with the police chief, who is pissed off that Leo Fong is taking matters into his own hands when he's not on the force anymore. And then Leo Fong asks for his gun and he leaves.
And that is the last we hear of the police.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good point. The cops never come back into play in this.
Never.
Which is why I love that scene.
And then cut to Cameron Mitchell as a cult leader, including Karen Templeton, the daughter of the owner of Templeton International, to his cult. He gives her a name, which I think is just Pure, but
Purity.
Again, Purity. Again, a thing I couldn't really understand, and welcomes her to the family. At Karen's parents' house, her parents get a call saying that Karen hasn't been at school for 2 weeks. Then later, Leo Fong goes to a restaurant and orders some chicken feet soup. I'm sure Dan loved that one.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene. I was very much on the side of the Karen in that restaurant.
Yeah,
it made me nostalgic for when you had chicken feet soup all the time.
Listen, I'm not here to shit on anyone's culture, but that's gross.
And it grosses out some of the other patrons. But his lunch is interrupted by a woman getting mugged by two dudes. But Leo Fong chases them down and beats the shit out of them for the woman's purse and then gives it back to her. Meanwhile, Templeton just so happens to be driving by at this moment and sees Leo Fong's heroic thwart of the muggers and decides he might be able to use him. Leo Fong has some car trouble, which will become a running theme. Back at the cult, Karen is unsure about giving up some of her possessions. Cameron Mitchell's right-hand woman, Karma, gives her shit about it until she gives up her earrings. Templeton goes to and visits Leo Fong's office, and his secretary sits Templeton down, goes to tell Leo Fong, who is asleep at his desk wearing only an undershirt.
How many takes do you think they had to make before they finally went with her saying, should I tell him who's calling?
One. Every scene in this movie is one take.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I also had the feeling that they did it 3 times and she just kept saying calling and they finally just went, Fuck it. Yeah, she says that.
Yeah, they shot this on film, so they didn't have
Yeah.
they didn't have the budget to do it more than once. She eventually sends Templeton in, and Templeton tells Leo Fong that he wants him to find his missing daughter. Leo Fong says he's not cheap, but he'll get results. Maybe if he was cheap, business would be better. Meanwhile, back at the cult, everyone goes out to work tilling the fields. While they do, the right-hand woman, Karma, gives them the morning affirmations over a loudspeaker, praising Yarakunda, Cameron Mitchell. And she, might orgasm over it.
She does. Or at least she, temporarily loses her shit.
Yeah.
Right? It's the affirmation starts off very calm and give yourself to Yarakunda, and Yarakunda provides, and all of a sudden she just jumps to 11 and starts screeching about Yarakunda.
I feel like she comes.
You could pinpoint the moment she climaxes.
Then Leo Fong heads to a boxing gym to hit a punching bag and watches a couple of guys spar, but it turns out it's actually a bootleg fight that rich guys are paying to watch these guys fight in a shitty rundown boxing club. And the guy that won, who's like an old Bill Cosby boxer, gets cornered by some guys that were betting, and then they get mad that he didn't take a dive, so he beats them all up and they run.
And hard cut away from that scene. He punches two guys in the face, cut.
Leo Fong then goes to Karen's college and talks with an administrator there who puts him in touch with her roommate, and then we immediately cut him at the roommate's place, and she tells him that Karen started getting heavily involved in some church, and she's been spending all her time at Unity Village for this past 6 months. So Leo Fong goes and talks to a teacher that knows about cults. He talks about how this cult is almost like Jonestown, and it's a dangerous place to go. He also mentions that the real power in the cult is Karma, and she just got out of prison. As Leo Fong leaves the campus, he catches a bunch of guys trying to steal his hubcaps, so he beats the shit out of them and drives away.
Again, he's always where crime is, apparently. Either he attracts crime or he is attracted to crime.
Yeah. At a diner, the Bill Cosby boxer dude is upset for screwing up the racket the other guy was having, and they're having lunch. But he says they'll think of another one. I don't know, they're just trying to find another racket, I suppose.
What's the racket?
I guess just illegal boxing matches?
So is the racket he's supposed to take a dive and doesn't?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it?
No. Yeah, what's the point of that?
Unless they're just I don't know. I really don't know.
Because unless he's always the underdog,
right?
You're not going to make any money.
Exactly. Yeah. Then Leo Fong comes in and orders something. Then a couple of drunk guys show up starting a ruckus, and I think these might be the same guys that tried to rob that old lady. So Leo Fong and the Bill Cosby looking dude help the busboy beat the shit out of these drunk guys. Busboy comes out of nowhere to beat the shit out of them. Then Leo Fong gives the boxer dude his card, says he might be able to help him. Leo Fong then shows up to a gang knife fight and starts scouting some talent. He tells one of the kids to give one of the fighters his number, and then the fight is broken up by the cops.
Oh, so we did see cops again.
Yeah, we heard cops. I'm not sure if we ever saw cops.
So guys, don't you always go to the park and hold hands with your friends right before you knife fight them?
Yeah, I mean, ever since the Beat It.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is there any other way to start a knife fight?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, let me hold your hand first before we.
It's how we exchange protein strands.
I mean, technically, they're tied to something, right?
Yeah.
I think they're supposed to be tied to each other. No.
Yeah. That's what it is. They're their wrists are tied together or whatever, but it looks like they're holding hands.
They do look like holding hands.
Yeah. And who knows? In this movie, they may have been holding hands and not tied to anything because they didn't have the budget.
And how does Leo Fong know where all these things are?
He just does.
Right? He knows where everybody's fighting illegally.
I guess because he used to be a cop, so he knew all this stuff when he was cop.
Oh, that make me see.
But he was a corrupt cop, so that's why this stuff is still going on.
He was on the take.
Yeah.
Right. Hey guys, I'll let you do this underground knife fighting. Just slip me a few bucks.
One day I might need you.
Yeah. It's not even underground knife fighting. It's broad daylight at a schoolyard.
Yeah. Yeah, at an established place. Well, that's a lib city for you.
Yep.
Right?
I mean,
that's Joe Biden's America.
San Francisco's having a crime problem right now. Looks like nothing has changed since 1986.
Too bad Leo Fong is dead, or else we could get him to.
That's the reason. That's why crime's going up.
Leo Fong's dead.
Fox News probably is like, oh, all the people living in San Francisco asking for defund the police. This is what happens. Even though they never defund the police, they gave them more money. The
Right.
real problem is that Leo Fong's not in San Francisco anymore.
Who's there to keep them in check?
Yeah, exactly. The watch, no one picked up the watch. That's what it is.
Well, maybe, spoiler alert, maybe we'll find someone later in the podcast to pick up the mantle of Leo Fong.
Back at the cult, Yarakunda rolls up in a Rolls Royce with Karma and starts giving a sermon from the comfort of a lazy boy outside.
I got weird scene.
I got strong Simpsons leader bean sense from this.
I swear, this is where the sound thing came into play. I swear they said at one point, get his favorite chair or something like that to meet the journalist or whatever. Like, get his favorite chair, and they bring out this like piece of shit recliner thing.
Yeah.
Imagine that being your job in a cult is to get the leader's chair that they found on the side of the road.
Oh yeah. It's got fleas.
Yeah. Like that thing's been rained on for months. It's been sitting outside in the sun, just covered in like ringworm or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, hey, Mike, I need you to go get Yarakunda's chair and put it in the middle of the field.
He's too fucking old to sit in the field by himself without a chair.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh, where's Yarakunda want it now?
Should have put wheels on it.
It would have been great if they carried him out like in what was it? WrestleMania like 5 in Vegas, where they carried everybody out on like the dais.
There's 9.
There's 9, yeah.
Where it'd be great. Everywhere Yarakunda goes, he's just being carried around on a dais, and they just set him down.
Except for Bobby Heenan rode a camel backwards,
or was it the elephant?
Or an elephant.
I know there was an elephant there.
Yeah, he definitely rode an animal.
And Karma is using a bullhorn to emphasize all of Yurakunda's points. Meanwhile, some guy in red seems uneasy by the whole sermon. Fong goes back to his office and finds the secretary arranging flowers in his office, saying now something that isn't mold will grow in it. He asks her to find out where Unity Village is, and she looks through the phone book and gives him a number. And he says to throw it out because he's allergic to it.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And then it cuts away.
He's going to the country. How does he know how to find things when he doesn't want to look through phone books in a time before the internet?
I wish I had an answer for that. It's because the script tells him where he needs to go.
He pulls up to this small town and hits a parking meter when he pulls up to a general store. He asks questions about where to find the Unity Village, and he gets weird stares by the other patrons when he does. Meanwhile, as the followers of the cult are on work detail, the guy in red in the red shirt makes a break for it. He gets tracked down by a guy on a horse. Leo Fong sees it happen.
Ooh, the guy in the red shirt takes a nasty bump in this.
Yeah, he does.
Because the guy on the horseback jumps off the horse, landing right on top of him.
Yeah, it's pretty real stunt on that.
Yeah, it looks like it hurt.
Yeah. Leo then heads to the compound and meets Yarakunda. He says he's a journalist. Karma says they don't need any publicity. But Yarakunda says that he wants Fong to have lunch with them, so his trip wasn't all for naught. Fong agrees. Meanwhile, Templeton calls the office to find out if there's been any progress, and the secretary says that Fong is on the case as they speak. Yarakunda's goons find out that Leo Fong is a private investigator. I don't know how. So they take him out on a tour and immediately knock him out and lock him in a room with the red shirt guy.
It would have been cool, right? Because since Leo Fong was a cop, it would have been interesting if maybe one of the cultists was captured by him. Like, oh, I know that guy. He's no reporter. That's a cop.
Right. But nope. They just say he's a private investigator.
Yep. They figured it out. They sussed it out.
Yep. They get a call, but who knows who they called or got a call from?
It was the secretary.
Yeah. The goons try to move Fong's car, but it won't start. And then Fong and the red shirt kid start talking. Red shirt says that he ran away from home because he couldn't handle his dad anymore. Yarakunda was a refreshing change of pace at first, but now he can't tell what is real and what is not most days. The goons then bring Fong in to get interrogated by Karma, just winds up beating the shit out of Fong and throwing him back in the room with the red shirt. In the room, Yerkunda says to Karma that he feels an evil, and she tries to assure him that there is no evil. So they sing a song together. Meanwhile, Fong starts a fire in a wastebasket, so the guards have to come into the room. Then he and the red shirt kid rush the door and escape. They make it to Fong's car, but it won't start, so the kid gets out and attacks a guard and makes off with his shotgun while Fong works on the engine and gets the car to start. They pile in and exchange fire with the guards, but manage to get away.
I gotta say, the more we talk about it, the more I hate that the car is such a big part of this movie.
Right?
It's such a weird dynamic, and it doesn't add anything.
In a comedy, it would.
It would, yes, but this is not that.
Yeah. Fong makes it back to town and completely obliterates a curb when he parks. He and Redshirt guy part ways, but Redshirt says that if he plans on going back to go on a Sunday, because that's when they're all tired and sleepy, back at the cult compound, Karma is having the guards that let Fong go get disciplined. Fong heads back to the office, and the secretary says that the bank is calling as a final notice, and Fong just blows her off, saying the check is in the mail. Calls to find out where Templeton is, and he finds out he's at church, so he drives and obliterates another curb in front of the church. And has a quick chat with Templeton before he goes back to his car and finds he's got a parking ticket. In the morning, the secretary cooks him breakfast, and it turns out they're fucking this entire time, which is the first time it has ever been established.
It looks like they don't like each other every other time they're on the screen.
Yeah, but they this is assuredly post-coitus.
Yeah, right, because she's wearing the long shirt, the button down.
Yeah, that's movie code for we just fucked.
Right, always. And she's making breakfast.
Yep.
So yeah, things have gone down.
And he makes fun of her cooking, right?
I think he does. That's got to be, I can't imagine that being very fulfilling for her.
Yeah. It says scrambled the wrong eggs. I don't know if that meant that they scrambled her eggs.
Oh, like her guts.
Right.
Scrambled her guts.
I feel like that's a really blue joke for this film.
Yeah.
Leo Fong seems like a nice guy. I feel like that's not a joke that he would make, right?
He's nice to everyone but his secretary.
He is.
Who he's sleeping with.
Right. Maybe he hates women.
But no, he helps women throughout the entire movie, right? He beats up those two muggers for the old lady. His whole job is to rescue the daughter.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to do that with a whole lot of urgency.
That's true. He's all over the place. He recruits the strong woman to his team.
That's true.
So he's got some appreciation for women, just not the secretary.
Yeah, he does dislike her.
Well, because he just treats her like a secretary.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, why am I listening to you? You're a secretary.
Then a bunch of cult goons show up at Fong's house, which can only be described as a shack, and they're armed to the teeth. But Fong beats the shit out of them by hiding in pig pens and just jumping out from crazy places. Even chokes a dude out at one point. And at one point, one of the goons gets knocked out and wakes up in a pile full of puppies for some reason. I'm not complaining about. Yeah.
Didn't need to see that.
Did they also breed puppies? Is this a puppy mill?
That's what I'm thinking. It was like, what does Leo Fong have his hands in?
Everything.
Right? Including his secretary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know that.
Eventually, he single-handedly beats them up so bad that they go to try and hop back into their Mercedes and drive away. Fong pulls a plug from their starter and then takes a 2x4 to each of the windows of the car, then takes a saw and saws off the roof. And the goons all just run away.
You can tell that must have been the most fun he's ever had on a set.
The 2x4 against the windows, yeah.
Oh, he has the biggest smile on his face. He might as well have just been saying, "This is fun," while bashing the car in.
It kind of makes him look like a sociopath.
Yeah, he looks like he's a murderer.
Yeah.
Like it's straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
If you just replace the goons with teenage kids and him just bashing their car in while smiling the entire time, it's a horror movie.
Sure. Fong then goes to a card room and tries to meet with some guy, but a fight breaks out before he can. So Fong decides that the best way to get in touch with this guy, I think this is the point, is to put on a strongman competition in some sort of pit. Everyone shows up to fight, including the gang knife fight guy and the two drunk dudes that got beat up by Fong on 2 separate occasions, and the Bill Cosby boxer dude, and there's even some ninjas.
In ninja garb.
In ninja garb, yeah. Anyway, a series of fights happen in what looks like an abandoned construction site for reasons that are not quite clear to me, and eventually a strong woman wins. Back at the cult, Yurakunda and Karma are conversing in the field while Karen is getting pumped full of drugs. Karma is getting increasingly tired of Yurakunda's shtick. They go to a country bar and watch some muscly dudes beat up each other after an arm wrestling match. And Leo Fong is there watching this dude who toss a whole bunch of guys out of the bar. The girl that won the strongest man competition says, this guy's not so tough. And then we immediately cut to Fong talking to Templeton at the docks. Templeton is getting antsy because Fong has no urgency, but Fong says the cops and the FBI won't do anything, so leave it to him.
That is the first instance of a trust me, bro.
I got this. Relax, my guy.
Back at the compound, the goons are pumping some iron, and Karma likes the way one of them looks. She then goes to talk to Yakunda for some more, and she can't handle talking to him before she just walks away from him. Back at the office, Leo has assembled his Avengers and start going through his plans for the storming the compound. He gets some lip from Bill Cosby Boxer, but eventually they're all on board.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, the compound...
that is the second instance of trust me, bro. Is you'll get your money.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at the compound, Karma goes to see Karen and puts something in her hand while she's asleep, and it never comes up. At night, Leo Fong's L11 put their plan into motion. A few of them head downriver in a boat, and then a long, tedious gunfight ensues. Another movie where people shoot Uzis and shotguns for a while. Leo Fong stomps a dude's head and turns it into cake. He also grabs a couple dudes by the dick and throws them off a balcony.
I had that written down. This one guy is made of cake.
Is it real or is it cake?
Oh,
that's
the
first
question.
So that's what Cameron Mitchell's quote was. He was turning people into cake.
That's so evil.
That would have been a great twist. Oh my God, they're cake. They're cake people.
That, you know what? If a movie had the balls, that's the twist ending, is that this cult leader is turning people into cake. You know what? Props. Can't really...
I love it.
Yeah. It'd be so ridiculous.
It's the best. That's the best B movie of all time. You can't compete with that.
Yeah, I agree. Eventually, in the head, and Fong finds Karen and grabs her, and Leo Fong's 11 pile into a van like the A-Team and head out. In the morning,
one of them die?
I don't know. Do they? I feel like they all got out.
I think so. I think one of them gets shot. Like an older man gets shot. I can't remember. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm not even 100% he recruited, other than the boxer guy, the knife fight guy, and strong woman.
Yeah, but there are like other people just randomly show up.
Yeah, and the rest.
Right, it's Leo Fong's gang featuring these three people and others.
In the morning, they reunite Karen with Templeton and get paid. And then Fong tells his secretary, let's go to Vegas. But they can't get the car to start. And that's the note this movie ends on.
I had written, what a fitting way to end a movie. With a stalled out car.
Yep. And that is low blow. It's kind of boring.
Yeah, I was thoroughly disappointed.
Sorry, I was thinking about how this movie could have been turned into a great horror movie where they were cake people the whole time.
You know who does that movie? Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith makes that movie.
Yoga Hosers?
It might as well. I haven't seen it.
Yoga Hosers, he turns people into Nazi sausages.
Yeah, sausages. That's right. And there are Nazis in there somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's who makes this movie. Oh my God, they're turning people into cake.
Oh, it's the Bratzis. That's what it is. Oh, this fucking movie's terrible.
I've never seen it.
Oh man.
And Cameron Mitchell's wife assistant is definitely played by his daughter, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay.
I was gonna say, I know there are people out there who probably would like this movie. If you're into B movie schlock, then I would recommend this. But it's on its own, it's very, very, very frustrating. It's tedious to go through, like you said. So overall, I can't imagine anyone really enjoying this other than people like us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think tedious is the best word for it. It's just a lot. It's just Leo Fong walking around, you know?
Yeah, going from scene to scene.
Yeah.
It kind of just like bumbling around.
Yeah. There's no propulsion, basically.
No. Yeah, it's whatever the script dictates him to be at, that's where he is.
Yeah.
Poor dialogue, poor audio mixing.
Yeah.
Just frustrating.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's all we have for Low Blow. We do have one more segment coming up. But before that, we're going to take a quick break so you can listen to some ads so we can pay those bills. And we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for our third segment. And this third segment is simply called Recast It. So we have Low Blow, and it's about time Hollywood gave this the remake treatment. So we're going to take at least the top 4 characters in this film, and we're going to give them a 2023 spin for it. So that's Leo Fong, Yarakunda, as played by Cameron Mitchell, Karma, and Diane, Leo's secretary. So, who wants to start? We could probably just run down all this. We don't have to go like round robin, but who wants to start?
Mark, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was going to say you since your suggestion, but I'm ready to go. My Fong, I decided we need it. Even if we did it back a little earlier, if we do it now, because he puts more in the age range of I was thinking of going with Robin Shu, better known as Liu Kang from the Mortal Kombat movie.
Okay.
For Fong. And for Carmen Diane, I don't know why these names in my head, but I was looking for a little Saved by the Bell reunion and doing Lark Voorhees and Elizabeth Berkley.
Okay.
That's 2 roles.
Interesting. And what year is this movie being remade at?
Nebulous.
Have you seen Lark Voorhees?
Yeah. Whenever. I think it could be funny either back in their primes or now.
Okay.
And then, I guess we'll say back in the day because my next one, Cameron Mitchell's character, I'm just casting Cameron Mitchell again.
Yeah, and he's dead, so
we'll make it the 90s.
Yeah.
It'll
be his last movie he ever made.
Yeah, we'll say they redid it like after season 1 of Saved by the Bell. Let's do that. Or whatever. And then Quirky, I guess this would keep the time period well. For some reason, I immediately thought of if you get a higher budget, you could just make that Danny Glover.
I could see that. Definitely.
Yeah, the time period. Yep, those were the 5 I had. I literally sat here through all the breaks in this podcast and all that, trying to find somebody funny for Cameron Mitchell's character, but I just couldn't find anybody that could do the same level of not caring while still having a little bit of, I don't want to say charisma, but sort of like you're paying attention when he's on screen. Like I couldn't think of anybody that wouldn't be just like, let's pick a great actor in there. So, because I think he does those roles so well from all the movies.
Sure. All right, Dan, what about you? Let me hear your cast.
Sure. So it's funny, Mark, you went with the old school Mortal Kombat. I picked Ludi Lin, the current Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat 2021, to play my Leo Fong.
He has a very like elderly Liu Kang vibe, Leo Fong's character.
He does. Yeah, he is a good martial artist from what I've seen. He's been I think he was in the Power Rangers movie as well. I think he was the Black Ranger. But yeah, most notably in the new Mortal Kombat movie. So he's young, he's spry, he knows how to fight. So he's my pick for Leo Fong. My Karma, I have Halle Bailey, the new Little Mermaid, as Karma. My Yarakunda, this might be my favorite pick, is Michael Fassbender.
Okay.
Because I've seen him phone in performances before.
All right.
And I think he'd be very good at phoning this in and just sitting around blind.
Magneto, am I right?
I was thinking of the Snowman. He phoned that performance in. But yeah, I would just like to see Michael Fassbender do nothing but sit around. I think that'd be hilarious. My Diane, I have played by Alexandra Daddario.
Okay.
And that's just because I think she's absolutely gorgeous. And I would like to see her in a button-down shirt and nothing else.
Sure.
So that's my kind of like horny jail pick. So I apologize.
I agree with that. That's a good pick.
Listen, she's got it all.
Yeah, that pick now makes sense when you just randomly said True Detective pre-show.
Yeah, I couldn't remember her name. I was like, I know she was in some show on HBO. I couldn't remember. But I decided, so those were my main players. I decided to pick a director for the reboot.
Okay.
And I picked Matt Reeves as the director for the Low Blow remake.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, he does good action scenes.
Sure. Yeah, good pick. It's about a $200 million movie for you.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna reach even. I don't think it's gonna break even.
All right, my picks. I went in the complete opposite direction as both of you. I said, top of this show, this movie feels like it to be a comedy or wanted to be a comedy. So I picked this as if it was a comedy. Okay?
Okay.
So for Leo Fong, the obvious choice is Jackie Chan, right?
Yeah,
he's got
that's a good
he's
pick.
got pretty good casting. He's got pretty good comedic chops. He's got obviously the kung fu or whatever martial arts. But I didn't pick him. I went with Ken Jeong. I envisioned, as I said, I envisioned this as Fletch. So I picked Ken Jeong as someone that can't really do the martial arts, but he's going to pretend that he does.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. For my Yarakunda, I am going with a person that we've covered several of his movies, and he has not been sober throughout any of them. That is one Mr. Eric Roberts.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I could see him in that role. I could see him wearing his little bonnet and his Star of David tattoo and all that.
He would definitely. I'm sorry to interrupt, but he would definitely transcend that role.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect casting.
Yeah. For my karma, I have Lupita Nyong'o.
Nice. There you go. Academy Award nominee.
Winner, I believe.
I was gonna say I don't remember if she won or not. I know she was nominated, but that's a great choice too.
Yeah,
I think sticking with that person being the best actor in the movie.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Now I don't know if I've ever seen her in a comedy. Do you think she has the timing? I'm sure she does, but
see, I think she's got to be the heavy in this movie.
Okay, so not a whole lot of comedy from her.
Yeah, she'll be like the straight man, sort of.
Okay,
because she's villain in it. Really, more than
I think it works.
Eric Roberts is her patsy, basically, and I think she would work. I think she's in a movie called Little Monsters, which I think is like a horror comedy about a kindergarten teacher in a zombie apocalypse, but I haven't seen it.
I think it's on YouTube. I think you're right.
I think it's a comedy though.
I mean Amazon. I'm sorry, it's on Amazon.
Yeah. For Diane, Leo's secretary, I have Chelsea Peretti.
Ooh, fantastic pick.
Yeah, I could see her playing a young, sarcastic way. And I only have one more. Boxer Bill Cosby, which is Corky. I have Ken Foray, just because he's old boxer dude, and I didn't have any more. I didn't pick Karen Templeton because that's a really nothing character. But yeah, those are my picks. Very comedic heavy. So that's what this movie needs to be. Because I'm gonna keep the thing of Leo Fong hitting every curb that he sees.
I think that's really good. I think if we meshed our casts together, I think we have a hit on our hands.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, we put Matt Reeves directing, Lupita Nyong'o in there.
Mm-hmm.
Resurrect Cameron Mitchell from the dead.
I would keep Eric Roberts as Yarakunda. I think that's just too good.
Yeah, I think.
Why are you hating on necromancers, Dan?
Listen, when the perfect casting is there, you don't mess around with it. You know what I mean? You just you let it go and you watch the magic happen.
Yeah, I was either thinking Eric Roberts or Mickey Rourke.
I like Eric Roberts more.
Yeah,
Mickey Rourke is just kind of sad.
But yeah, those are our casts. If you want to recast this movie, why don't you hit us up on Twitter or something? Shout us out. Who you got for these roles if you've seen this movie? If you haven't, it's in YouTube and it's free on YouTube. So go check out Low Blow on YouTube. Or don't. Like we said, we didn't really like it that much. But that is our week. That's our movie, Low Blow. So yeah, check us out on all the socials. We got TikTam Pod on Instagram and Twitter. They Call This a Movie on TikTok. Check us out there while you still can. If you have a suggestion for a movie, you can hit us up on Twitter. That's the best place to get a hold of us. Or you can hit us up at tictampod@gmail.com. That is our Gmail account. And if you have a minute to spare, give us a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice. Helps us out immensely. Gets us seen, gets us noticed, gets us paid.
Also, check out the YouTube, right?
Check out the YouTube. We have an up there on the YouTube. I think that's TikTam Pod as well. We've been posting our little Tic Tam quick hits, which are like little 10-minute versions of the podcasts, also video edited by one Mr. Dan Aquino, who's doing a great job on it. So check that out too. Don't plug that nearly enough, but go check that out too, because he's doing good work on it. It's funny to watch. And yeah, that's going to wrap us up this week. Low Blow, the director of Low Blow, is Frank Harris. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Delvecchio telling Frank Harris, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Call This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Call This a Movie.